Welcome back to Fast and Frugal. In this episode, we're going to take a bunch of these steel bars and turn them into a roll cage. We're going to break it down in steps, and hopefully it'll be pretty easy to follow. Let's have some fun. All right. So first step in this process is getting the seat mounted. Reason for that, if you place your seat and then, or if you don't place your seat and then you go to install your cage, let's say if you have it too far forward, well, now you're cramped up in the car and you don't have very good control of the steering wheel because your arms are all chicken wing. Let's say if you place it too far back. If you do place it too far back, then you don't have adequate bracing on the seat in case something tragic were to happen. Your seat has the ability to fall backwards, and that is a recipe for disaster. So always place the seat first. And as you can see, I'm getting ready to drill some holes. I'm marking out where I want to place all the holes. So I just picked the ridge in the front of the seat because it's the same place on both sides. That way I can measure back and get the holes in the same place. You want to be square when you're sitting in the car. Just it's more comfortable, right? I don't know too many people that want to be facing left when they're trying to drive. And while we're getting the holes drilled, we might as well go over some of the rules for lemons. So we'll work our way down the tech sheet. First bullet point is going to be exhaust noise. So we got to have a street legal car. Lemons is going to require us to be at 92 decibels or lower. Next is brake lights. So we got to have both brake lights working. Currently, our car does not. Only the passenger side brake light works, so we'll have to tear into that. We got to install a kill switch. That's important because you want to be able to kill power inside the car if anything bad were to happen. Driver access. We want to be able to get in and out of the car fine in case something bad does happen. So you can't have, your roll cage too high or your door bar for your roll cage too high and try and climb over it with the door open and whatnot. Just that's an example. The driver's seat has to be one piece and purpose built, and we have a one piece purpose built driver's seat. We'll go into some of the very extensive rules for the roll cage later in the video. And then seat belts, those have to be 2 years or newer. You have to have a fire extinguisher on board, and the cockpit needs to be generally clean. Can't have a bunch of wires and hoses and whatever around your feet. And right now, I'm using a Dremel tool to help get this frame to fit. Holes for the front of the frame were really thin, and I wanted to use a thicker bolt. Just peace of mind for me, I guess. But I was just using the Dremel tool to kind of drill them holes out a little bit bigger. And then you probably noticed the clamp and the ratchet strap. So the frame itself wanted to keep coming apart on me, and since this is an adjustable frame, that bar in the front has a metal tab on it that's stuck down. So I was able to clamp the side of the frame to that bar and on both sides, and then ratchet strap the back to the uh, rear bar, and that kept everything pretty square for me. And now I'm getting bolts in, so luckily you can't feel the bolts when you sit in the seat. That's a good thing. Padding is thick enough there. But you'll also notice that these mounting points swivel, so that allowed me to get really good contact on all four corners of the seat, and kind of gives us a little bit of angle adjustment too. Next thing that we have to take care of is getting the floor all clean. So we got to weld to the floor, and in order to weld to the floor we need a clean surface to weld to. This oscillating tool that I'm using worked awesome. I think that really was the best tool to use to get all this sound deadening and whatever off the floor. I just took it off like butter. But as you can see, there is a lot to it. It's a long process, but the spreader plate, that square plate that you see sitting on the floor, that's where all of your cage parts are going to mount. You can't just weld the tube to the floor of the car, because an 1 3/4 tube for the roll cage has a lot more probability of punching through the floor in the event of an accident than a 6x6 steel plate. So you put all of the spreader plates down, form those to the floor, and then weld your cage to the spreader plate, and it'll give your floor a lot longer life in the event of an accident, and it'll keep you safe also.
Now you're gonna get the paint off over here, or are you still doing on that side?
Yeah, we gotta bend this plate so it'll fit. The best way that I found to get the spreader plate formed to the floor, just from this experience, was to weld a corner to the floor and then beat it down, beat it to the contour of the floor as best you can while it's still mounted to the floor. You might have to tack it in a couple places and re-tack it here and there if your tack breaks, but that's what we did. For the front, we tacked the corner to the floor, and then we used a concrete form pin, and we hit that all over the plate and got it to form pretty good. So the next step in this process is to actually start welding the cage in. As you can see, we're using a couple pieces of angle iron to kind of lift the main hoop of the cage up, because where we originally wanted to mount it was too far forward, and if we moved everything back, the cage would have been too short. So we went ahead and got a couple pieces of angle. Then we cut those and made those fit the floor the way we wanted them to first. tack everything in. So later we can grind all the tacks off, drop this whole cage down, paint the top of it, and then we'll put these back, and then we'll burn them in completely. And then we'll put the cage back on, we'll burn the cage to this, and then we'll be done. They're welded all the way together. And then we can paint the cage, and then we're good to go. The next important part here is getting the angle of the main hoop right. So you do want the main hoop to kind of lean back a little bit. I'm not 100% sure on the reasoning why, but from my research, you mount the cage at a 6-degree angle, or you mount the main hoop at a 6-degree angle, and mark everything back, or make everything back that way. The way we did it was we did the main hoop, then we did the back stays. Those are just the back supports for the cage. And then we did the crossbar going across the hoop. And then we did the halo, and then the down strut, or the front struts. And then we did the door bars. And another thing that we had to learn the hard way, my brother and I, is grinding everything down to fit with a grinder is a lot more time consuming and a lot more difficult than if you buy a tube notcher. I really wish that I would have. It would have made this process so much easier, and it would have made everything go so much quicker. But we didn't do that. We did it the hard way. I don't know. I think everything worked out. The other thing you want to watch for when you are doing stuff like that is having big gaps. Any sanctioned race, I don't believe, is going to allow big gaps to be filled with weld.
Yeah, you're at the bend here.
Alright, here we go now.
Makes you want to roll it over, see what happens.
Backstays in the same place. Yeah. Now we gotta fit the crossbar. Man, this is cool. It's stressful, but it's freaking cool. Okay, let's get a measurement. sit back in the seat, make sure that it's going to be freaking comfortable.
It's just a tick forward part. I mean, it's a tick.
Sorry, Dad. Hopefully you fit. Oh, dude. That's not bad. That's not bad. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now we can go over some rules for the cage. Lemons has a lot of rules for cages. First off is weight. If your car is less than 3,000 pounds, you can use a mild steel tube of 1.5 inch diameter with a 75 thou thick wall. We erred on the side of caution and went with the over 3,000 pound cage, and that is mild steel, 1 3/4 inch diameter, and with 120 thou thick wall. The next big set of rules is the padding. Anywhere that the driver can contact the cage needs to be padded. Another important rule when installing the cage is backstay locations. Backstays shouldn't reach further back than the back edge of the rear tire. We didn't have to worry about that. My dad placed the backstays at the closest structural part in the passenger cabin. The door bars that we installed will need to be modified later, though, because we need to have 2 of them per side. I think we're going to use an X-type for our door bars now.
Well, like I said, we went main hoop, and then the backstays, and then the rear crossbar. And now we're going to fit the halo. Fitting the halo was a very frustrating process. Trying to hold the halo up with one person while fitting it to the hoop is difficult. Luckily, I didn't have to do that. If you're by yourself trying to put the cage in, secure some help. It's really all I got on that one. My advice to someone who is gonna try putting a cage in, when you do cut your halo, make sure you grind or notch your bars to the correct angle that it's going to meet up to the hoop in. I didn't do that. Luckily, when I cut everything, I cut the halo long. So I could grind everything down a little bit to make everything fit correctly up against the cage. And once we got the angle right, everything looked pretty good. So this is the part where things got a little dicey. With the angle that we cut into the halo itself, it didn't really fit the way we liked against the hoop. So we were using a ratchet strap to kind of suck everything in, suck those 2 bars in as far as we could get them without, kinking the halo or anything. And we were able to get everything tacked in. It looked really nice. And then we worked on the struts. I said earlier that we put the struts on boxes. And we also had to patch the floor. Found a big old rust hole in the floor on the driver's side. So we ended up having to patch that with a piece of thin sheet steel, and then we put the spreader plate on top of that, and then the box, and got everything mounted up. So one tip that I have on making patch panels is it's all thin steel. So if you do have to do something similar to what we're doing, make a patch panel, you want to tack weld everything, and you want to spread the heat out. So you want to tack weld in one corner and then move to the other corner on the complete opposite side, and then work your way around like that. You don't want to try and run a bead all the way around your patch panel, because what you'll end up doing is burning through the floor, the other piece of steel that you're trying to weld to, and nothing's going to stick that way. So as you can see here, my brother is doing very short bursts, tacking everything in place, moving down the panel, and he's switching sides so he doesn't heat the metal up too much, because it will warp as well. And make sure everything is formed and fits, and then you can rock and roll through it. Thinking 25 inches. You see this?
Oh, you're looking at 25 to your angle portion.
Yeah. I got 31 to the apex of the angle. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if we cut 3 inches off of this to start, we'll see where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
So cut 3 inches off the bottom of that. Side you got your hand.
3 inches. That's about where you want to be off the windshield. It's also going to rock back into, so you're going to have to be down quite a bit.
So, right there, we're level. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're at the same height. This is what, the distance here to here is what?
I have no idea.
3 inches?
No.
2.5?
2.
2.5?
I don't know. Okay.
So why don't we take 2 1/4
Well,
off?
Tyler, just probably the best option would you to be is to be right next to it, because you have a benchmark to go to now.
Yeah.
Make that end fit perfect. Push it over beside it, and then just describe a mark right off that angle where you need it. So, because like you said, you want that to be the last option to cut that bottom end, because get this
Right.
top done first.
Okay, well, let me see Sharpie. So, right now what I got this scribed up to the back side of the bar. Okay? I got it scribed up to the back side. So, I would say cut just in front of that mark, and let's see where we're at. Well, yesterday we got everything welded in. So we got a couple more welds to do. That looks like poop. We got to grind that down a little bit. That looks bad. But we got to get the cage remounted And we got to get these fully welded in, both sides, all the boxes. All right, and then we got to get the cage mounted to the boxes, and then the cage is mounted to the car. Right now, the cage isn't mounted to the car, but we got her painted, so it's nice, pretty red. Gotta kind of make it look a little nicer. Paint, I ran it a little bit, so it doesn't look that great, but you know, it's all good. It happens. Let's get after it, shall we? Good over there? All right, well, we got most of the cage welded down, actually. We got good solid beads along the bottom of the main hoop.
Loud noises!
And the front struts. So those are all tacked in, or welded in, all the way around, ready to go. Our crossbar here is all welded in all the way around, ready to go. we got half a bead along the backstay here because we're trying to figure out if we need a cross brace there. So like I said, I got this roll cage off of Rhodes Race Cars, and I don't know how I feel about it. It's a very nice cage. As far as, you know, quality, you know, everything seems to fit. We had to cut everything, which is understandable. You buy a cage kit, you got to cut it to fit. I understand that. The part that I don't like is there's so many pieces to this. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 bars. 14, I think, well, maybe 15 separate pieces. And there's no explanation of what goes where. We have 2 pieces here that are notched at both ends. You know, they got the cutout for the bar at both ends. So we think those are door bars. They go from the main hoop to the front strut on both sides, we think. But we don't know. This one is notched at a pretty steep angle. So we think that's supposed to be a triangulation bar between the backstays. But we don't know. As far as customer support for Rhodes Race Cars, I mean, it seems like they take good care of their people, or their customers. I did call up there and kind of explain a little bit of the situation, you know, that I've never done anything like this. I've never put a roll cage in. So, you know, they were super helpful. They said, send me some pictures and we'll get you started. I never did that. I did a little bit more research on my own and figured it out, I think, you know. But so far, it's coming along. Well, that was a process. A lot of cutting, a lot of grinding, a lot of fitting. For a guy that's never done this before, that was a lot. I learned a lot. If I ever do this again, which hopefully I will, I'll know a little bit of what I'm doing, I guess. A little bit of things that we picked up along the way. Eventually, we will be painting the cage this red all the way through. I'll do a whole separate video on getting seat belts mounted because we don't have the lap belt mounted or the anti-submarine belt. Then once we get cage painted and all that stuff, that'll be a video too. Maybe we'll do that with the seat belt. I don't know. But as you can tell, I'm holding extra pieces. I'm not sure if we're supposed to have extra pieces, but we even have 3. So I don't know. Maybe we'll add them in somewhere later. Who knows? Cage is in. Cage is sturdy. It's mounted. I'm pretty sure if we flip this thing on its lid, we'll be safe. Do have to get some pads for this. Anywhere that the driver can contact the roll cage, we gotta get pads. But other than that, that's it.